Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to a very special sports presentation on WLCS TV 20, Lorain City Schools Television. It has been a long time since we've done one of these, but it's sports scene, and it's great to be back here in the city of Lorain as we tape this in the Lorain City Schools Television studios. Now, they're not quite complete. Joe Bach, B-O-C-K, still has some work to do, but boy, it's terrific. It looks great. I hope it sounds great, and I'm glad to be back here in Lorain. And I'm glad to be joined by the boys' head basketball coach of the Titans of Lorain High, John Rositano. John, we were saying it's been a long time since you and I have done one of these.
20-something years ago. Yeah, it's good to be back here, Tim.
And, of course, it's been a long time for you as a head basketball coach. But every team has its own unique flavor, its own unique identity. Talk a little bit about this 2019-2020 Lorain team and what's been unique or different about them.
Well, it's been different, Tim, that we talked about facing adversity coming into the year, and we need adversity, and we sure got it with the injuries we've had with Seth Wilson missed the first 6-7 games, and he comes back, and then Jordan Jackson goes out for 7 or 8 games with an appendectomy. And then just recently, we got everybody back, and then Aidan Brown goes down with a severe ankle sprain. So we faced a lot of adversity. The guys have hung in well, and we're dealing with it.
Boy, you often hear the term, and I don't know if it's a cliche or not, but next man up.
Yeah.
You know, the games don't stop, the practices don't stop. No. Talk a little bit about how kids have to buy into that. That listen, it wasn't good to not have Seth. It wasn't good to lose Jordan, and now Aidan, but it's got to be that next man up mentality.
And again, our program's used to winning. Our guys are used to winning, so it makes it easier in that sense. And we've had guys that stepped in and to replace them while they're out, and they've gotten better. And thus, we saw the last 3 weeks we were better as a team because of that. Now with Aidan out now, we got another young man stepping in, and he's very capable, and we're looking forward to it.
So let's talk about the season overall, just from where you started to where you are now as we tape this in the studios of WLCS. Yeah. Where have you seen the biggest progress with your team, John?
I think chemistry. Obviously when you got guys out, it's a revolving door with personnel, but we've established some chemistry. We've gotten better defensively, and I think we're peaking at the right time right now, which is really good because it's getting close to tournament time. So we're excited right now.
You're a tournament coach. I mean, you and I have known each other a long time. You coach a team, you prep a team to get them ready for late February and March basketball. How close are you to where you want this team to be, taking the injuries into account, especially now with Aidan?
No coach is ever satisfied with where they're at, but I think based on the adversity we face, the schedule we've played, some of the close wins and losses we've had, we've gone through a lot. It's made us tougher. It's made us stronger as a team, and I think we're close. We're excited where we're at, and we're going to go out and play this tournament, and we expect to do well.
And I think, I can't speak for the coaches in the area, the Division I coaches, but boy, it shows the amount of respect and the program tradition that you have in Lorain as far as garnering that #1 seed.
Yeah, honestly, it was unexpected. Midview's had a great year, I think 16, 17 wins, and they're going to win their Southwest Conference. And I think coaches realize the schedule we played, the success we've had in the past, and I think that plays a part in our #1 seed. And I also think there's not a lot of schools out there that want to play Lorain right now, and I think that's part of it too.
When you have guys on your team that have been a part of deep tournament runs, Seth with St. V's before he came to Lorain, Jordan was on the team a couple of years ago that made it to the Final Four. Can you see in them, can you sense in them, John, that they're revving up for tournament time as well?
It's funny you say that, Tim, because just yesterday in practice, let's go. We're getting ready. We're getting close, and they're as peers, they're letting the other guys know. Here we go. We're getting close. We're getting ready for tournament time. And when you have peers saying that's been there and done that, it means everything.
Locker room chemistry, is that something that's often talked about too much? In other words, guys getting along, or as you coach and as you build a team, John, how important is that these guys have a real camaraderie?
I don't think it's the locker room chemistry as much as I think it's the on-court chemistry. I think the guys Whether they like each other or not, I think the guys have to respect each other on the court. And our guys definitely respect each other on the court. I mean, they're all friends. They like each other. But even more important is they have to respect each other. And that's been a process through the year, with the revolving door players and personnel. But I think as the years gone on, they've grown a respect for each player's individual talents and what they can and can't do. And like I said, we're close to where we need to be. And that's a good thing.
It's interesting you say that, because I think the initial reaction when it was learned that Seth was going to come back and play here in Lorain was like, oh, you just throw Seth into the mix and this becomes a Final Four team. Yeah, it's not that easy. I mean, the chemistry issues as far as what his strengths are, what he'll do well with teammates, that takes a while to develop.
It takes a while. It's not an individual sport, it's a team sport, and it takes a while for the coaches to mold it together, and then the players have to buy in what the coaches are molding in, and it's taken a while. And like I said, he was out the first 7-8 games, so now we have to adjust him coming back, and then he comes back, we're just starting to, and then Jackson goes out, and now we're 3 weeks, we're getting better, we're playing well, and now Aidan Brown goes out. So now we got a little adjustment period. But these guys have come a long way in terms of on the court and off the court chemistry. And like I said, we're really excited right now, Tim.
With a little bit of a longer format here on Sports Scene, we can kind of delve into player by player per se. So I just want to go through some of these guys. And let's start with Jordan Jackson, because this young man is just a tremendous athlete. Of course, was on the football field for Dave McFarland, but that Final Four experience that we talked about, let's start there. What does Jordan bring to your team?
When he is rebounding, it takes our team to a whole nother level. Matter of fact, when he was out them 7-8 games, it really hurt us against the elite teams. And for us to go far in the tournament, he's going to have to rebound for us, because he can rebound, and then he can take and go on his own, and then he's a distributor. He can create, and he's just an overall really good player. But when he's rebounding, he takes himself and our team to another level.
Another guy that I want to ask you about, Aaron Whitehead. Now, I had the thrill of coming over to the Titan gym the night you played Cleveland Central, and a half-court shot at the buzzer by Aaron Whitehead lifts Lorain High to the win. But aside from that shot, which was incredible, and he'll remember it for the rest of his life.
By the way, as coaches, we did draw that up. Just the way, take 2 dribbles, throw up a heave, and go in. Yeah.
But what does Aaron bring to the ball club?
His stability. He's a very intelligent kid. He doesn't make many mistakes. He knows where the ball has to go. A willing defender, and plays a lot of heavy minutes for us, and he's our leading three-point shooter. So a point guard who can defend, he can make shots and distribute, and is smart on the court, is a really good player, and Aaron's been a good player for us.
And of course, I want to ask you about Seth. Of course, a Lorain native, and then went to St. V's. Now he comes back, just a tremendous player. You talked about blending him in, and the time that would take, but just from a sheer basketball standpoint and what he means to the ball club.
He is very, very good at understanding where the ball needs to go. Very, very good passer, very good shooter. A tough kid, he's 6'3", probably 210 pounds, and rugged. He brings a physicality to us that maybe we haven't had in the past, and he's been a really good player for us. And it's taken time for him to fit in on how we play, because we play a little bit different than St. V's does. So it's taken time for him to adjust and fit in. And the last 7-8 games, he's done real well for us.
I have to tell you, when I was over doing that Cleveland Central game, his size surprised me. I didn't think Seth was that big of a young man.
He's thick. And there's not an ounce of fat on him. He's a well put together young man, and I think among a lot of things, that's one of the things attracted West Virginia, is his size, his physicality, his strength, and the ability to just to be a good basketball player.
Boy, another young man that's new to the program, Jameer Billings. Now, I called him for a couple of years over at Clearview. You talk about a defensive menace, and I know you love coaching defense. Geez. Who's the guy that Jameer guards that says, yeah, that's an easy guy to play against?
We put him on somebody, and he just caused havoc with that guy. I mean, he's a tremendous defensive player. He's got, in 30 years of coaching, maybe the best set of defensive hands since I've been here. He always has his hands on the ball, a lot of deflections. the steals that come with it, just the anticipation skills that he has defensively. And, we're having a hard time with Jameer is he's a lot better offensive player than sometimes I think he gives him credit for. Himself credit for. He can shoot it, he can take it to the basket, and sometimes he doesn't do enough of that. And we're trying to prod him to do more of that to help us along.
And a young man that, again, now this year I saw for the first time. I didn't see him a whole lot when I was at WEOL, but Devontae Jackson gives you quality minutes.
Oh, no doubt about it. He's another guy he's second in rebounding for us. He's a willing passer. He's just very active, and one thing about Jameer and Devontae is they want to win, and it's really neat having two guys come off the bench. Will do anything it takes to win a basketball game. So they're two subs that you can plug them in anywhere, and they'll do their best to help us win a basketball game, and that's what you need coming off the bench.
So who did I leave out? Who would you like to mention? I'm trying to run through the lineup in my head here.
Deontay Bennett-James.
Yes.
He.
My Queens, New York guy.
He has a really, really good three-point shot. He has an uncanny ability to get to the basket. He has worked really hard on his defense, and he's another guy that has bought in, and he'll do whatever it takes to help Lorain High win basketball games. And he's been a pleasure to coach for the last couple of years here, and we're happy to have him among all the guys we have.
By the way, I should let the audience know that the Queens, New York reference is in regards to the fact that I was talking to Deontay last year. He lived a block away from where my grandmother lived in Queens, New York. So we were talking about stores, and we were talking about subway stops, and so we have that connection. How could I forget about Deontay?
Yeah, he's a great kid. Now, like I said, we're happy to have him around. Yeah.
You mentioned, unfortunately, Aidan's probably going to be out for a while, but what did he bring, that rebounding, that size?
The 6'5" athlete, and the one thing Aidan Brown could do better than anybody having a long time is he can wall up at the rim, alter shots, and then get the rebound after either blocking it or altering it, and he did a great job of that. And by him being out, that's where we're going to miss the most, of him being out.
So how do you at least attempt to adjust there, John?
Well, we got a couple guys that can fill in. Javon Manning in particular will probably step in and fill that role. Javon does a great job rebounding. He doesn't have that 6'5" presence, but he's a very aggressive rebounder. He's good around the basket, and he'll fill in for us, and he'll do a great job. And we're excited to see him fill in and able to perform for us.
All right, and before we take the break, any other guy or guys that we've left out that you'd like to?
I think that's the guys that we pretty much have played throughout the course of the year. And I'll say this, Tim, what we're excited about. As a matter of fact, I told the guys after one of the games last week is, one thing, me, Matt Killian, Sean Hood, the coaching staff, is all 11 guys that we dress on the varsity, every one of them are AB students.
That's
and
awesome.
Yeah, and we're telling them this, and their eyes are, whether they play basketball in college or not, they're going to go to college, whether it's academics or basketball, and that's what we're here for, is to get guys to go to college, whether it's to play basketball for academics, and we've taken a lot of pride in the fact that we've got a really good group of guys, and whether they play basketball or not, they're going to go to college.
That's an awesome testament to you and the staff, John. It really is.
And to the kids, because they're the ones doing the work in the classroom and doing the things they need to do.
Terrific.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick time out, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more Lorain High Boys Basketball with the head coach of the Titans, John Rositano. So stay with us on WLCS TV 20, Lorain City Schools Television.
The Warriors to Work program makes it possible for wounded warriors and their families to build new lives together.
When my dad left, I was like this big, but now I'm like this big. My dad got a master's degree in human resources.
Thanks to Warriors to Work that my dad has a terrific job.
The Wounded Warrior Project helps him by, giving him another start.
Now that my dad's home, I get a lot more hugs.
I'm really proud of him.
Find out more about Wounded Warrior Project at findwwp.org. Welcome home the brave.
Every year, the Salvation Army serves nearly 30 million people in need. That's one person every second. So by the time you've finished watching this, 30 more lives will have been changed for good. all thanks to your donations.
Thank you.
So welcome back to Sports Scene on WLCS TV 20, Lorain City Schools Television. Tim Alcorn in the WLCS TV 20 studios. It's great to be back in the city of Lorain, and of course, I love having a conversation with John Rositano. We have done this hundreds of times, and it never gets old to me. I just love soaking up his basketball knowledge. And John, before the break, you were talking about your staff. And there's an old saying, you're only as good as the people that you surround yourself with. Take a moment and talk about your staff and what they do to really enable Lorain to become a successful basketball program under your guidance, of course.
Yeah. Well, I delegate a lot, and I think all good coaches will delegate and they give responsibilities to other coaches if they trust them, and I definitely trust our guys. And you got Matt Killen, who does a great job with the kids. He's a mentor to a lot of these kids, along with the rest of the coaches. But he runs the youth program, and he does a great job with that. He does a great job with our guys, and he has a very good basketball mind. And he's been with me since I've been back here in Lorain, and he's done a great job for me and the kids.
John, I know one of the things that I've done over the years and other guys from WEOL have done, go down to those middle school levels and call the games for Joe Bach on WLCS. And it's really cool that Joe goes down there and tapes those games. But really, that's where the seeds are planted, per se, is at that middle school and even grade school level, correct?
The grade school. We start the AAU program in the third grade. So you got third grade on up, and if you don't do that, you're not going to have a successful program. And Matt Killen's been instrumental in running that and has done a great job. And you see the rewards through the last 6-7 years. We keep recycling really good players coming through there.
Can you recall a story or just a time where you looked at a young man or a little boy, maybe even at the grade school level, and thought, that's a basketball player? And then sure enough, it happened all the way. Can you tell at that early age, John, not necessarily a star, but who really grasped the game at that young of an age?
Well, the obvious one is, and it's real obvious, is Day Grant. I mean, in 7th, 8th grade, you could just look at him. I mean, he didn't have the size and that he ended up with, but you could just see the passion he had at a young age for the game. He was a willing learner. He was a gym rat. You had to kick him out of the gym at an early age, and he's a guy that was in the gym at 5:30 to 7 every morning in the fall and the spring, and you just knew at an early age this kid was going to be special, and he ended up being special. And really, Tim, all special players have that same trait. They just love being in the gym. They're not afraid to put the work in, and he was definitely one of them.
Now, the flip side of the coin is there a young man who you saw at an early age and you thought, I don't know, but just work ethic allowed him to become a contributor?
One of our players this year, Aaron Whitehead, there was always talent there, but he was a small, skinny kid. I mean, you just didn't project him to be the kind of player he is now, because he's grown, he's matured, and another guy that he puts a lot of time in the game, and he don't have the natural talent that maybe like a Grant or some of these other guys have had. But with the time and the energy and the effort he's put into basketball, he's made himself a really good player for us.
I mentioned when we came out of the break that you and I have done probably hundreds of interviews, and I've enjoyed every one of them. Mm-hmm. So if I've asked you this before, I apologize. I don't remember every single question I asked you, but at what point, John, I don't know if it was middle school, but high school or whenever, at what point did you realize I may want to coach this game?
Honestly, I mean, this might not be good to say this on air, but I became a teacher so I can coach basketball, because I knew early on, it was like 9th and 10th grade playing for Mitch Gillum Sr. I saw what kind of coach he was. I enjoyed the whole strategy. Even at that age, I just knew I wanted to be around the game of basketball, and I knew to do that I had to be a teacher, and that's what I did. I went to school, I became a phys ed health teacher, and I've got coach basketball and teach for the last 30 years, and you talk about quality of life. It's been a great quality of life for me, just doing something that you just have a passion for day in and day out, in the classroom and definitely on the gym floor.
Do you have a player either now or in the recent past that you see has that same basketball mind that you do, where you think, yeah, I can see this young man coaching in another 5-10 years?
Well, it's funny you ask that, because the player we have right now has a great basketball mind, is Jameer Billings. And we were joking the other day. I said, Billings, you got to be a basketball coach. He goes, I know, I want to be a coach.
Did he?
Oh, yeah. I said, well, you want to be a head coach? He goes, no, I think I'd rather be assistant coach.
He's a smart guy.
That's why I told him, Jameer, that's maybe a better decision, because you'll never get blamed for the losses. So what? No, but he has a great basketball mind. He's very, he wants to know all the little ins and outs of the game. He's always asking questions, and he would be a really good basketball coach down the road if that's the route he decides to go to. He's always asking the little things about coaching. And yeah, it's funny you ask that, because that just happened within the last 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Hey, before we let you go, you talked about support staff and Coach Killian, and of course I know you're very close with Brian Corey, but not too often that you get to talk about your family, because with Val and your daughters and just Bruno, everybody that has supported you through these years, I think that plays a huge part in making a successful coach.
Yeah, first of all, my wife, I mean, you do this for 30 years, Tim. You know, you're around the game a lot, and it's if you don't have a wife that loves the game, that doesn't mind you being away from home a while, and she's been very supportive, comes to all the games, and she's been terrific for me and our family. And you know, my two daughters, you always joke on the air about them, but they've been wonderful. Now that Jenna's back in town, she comes to all the games along with Abby, and it's really neat that it's a family thing. And then my dad, I mean, you know, he
talk about special.
Yeah, he comes to every practice, every game, and the kids. I've said this before. The kids just love him. I mean, he brings them the cookies, the candy, the cake, the everything. If they need anything, he makes sure that they're taken care of, and it's a really special thing to see. And I know I've said this 100 times. When he walks in the gym, every kid goes up to him and gives him a hug, and that's what this is all about. The coaching is when you see these kind of things. They shake my hand, the other coach's hand. They give my dad a hug, and that's special.
Absolutely.
And you just don't see that a lot in gymnasiums nowadays much, and you sure see it in our gym, and it is special. And that's probably one of the things I'll miss the most about coaching, is them little things that other people never get to see, and it makes it really tremendous for me, and you know, as a coach.
The only hug that would come close to that is when Val hugged Larry Reardon at the Hall of Fame. That was one of the classic moments of a Lorain Sports Hall of Fame banquet.
Well, you know, Larry, he took I was going to give a nice speech about my wife, and then he said it so perfectly about his wife, so I said, I can't do any better than that. So I says, Larry, just whatever Larry said, it goes to my wife. And then, you know, my wife thinks she's a comedian. She gives Larry a big hug, and yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah, that was good. So
this was great too, man. As I said, I love sitting and chatting basketball with you. And believe me, even though I've got a new job, anytime I can sit down and just, you know, shoot the basketball stuff with you, I'll be more than glad to do it.
Hey, can I say one thing? You know, Tim's now the radio announcer for the Cavaliers, and we as coach of Lorain County, we've talked about it. We miss having him doing EOL on a regular basis, because he was like the voice of Lorain County basketball, and honestly, not to discredit all the other guys, but it's missing when Tim's not around on a regular basis, and yeah, we miss that, and that's why it's special to come back, and we're having this conversation now, and you said you're doing our game next week, and yeah, that'll be a special time.
Well, I appreciate the compliment. Thank you.
Okay.
You're one of my best friends, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All righty. That's John Rositano, the head basketball coach at Lorain High, as he joins us here on Sports Scene. Of course, thanks to John and Joe Bach and everybody at WLCS TV 20, Lorain City Schools Television. I'll be back again at some time in the near future. So again, we thank you for watching, and so long, everybody.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools TV 20 WLCS.